This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
It is believed that humans have been using psychedelic drugs since the dawn of civilization. In Western culture, however, only recently has science begun to understand how psychedelics may aid trauma healing. Whenever something terrible happens to you, or you're in a harmful place for a long time, you are traumatized. Trauma can occur when you are experiencing something terrible. In some cases, trauma develops when you are subjected to an extended period of harmful circumstances. It affects both the mind and body. Traditionally, mental health treatment has focused on talk therapy and medication, interventions that are often quite effective at relieving psychological distress. However, many mental health practitioners are now working with psychedelics and transforming their perspective on healing trauma. As a result, psychedelic treatment may provide a less painful means of accessing the interface between the unconscious and the body. Valeria interviews Megan Salar. She is the author of EMDR for Dummies and the EMDR Workshop for Trauma and PTSD Skills to Manage Triggers. Move beyond traumatic memories and take back your life. Megan Salar, MSW, ACADC, is an EMDR clinician, trainer, and author who earned her master's degree in clinical social work from Northwest Nazarene University in 2011. She has extensively been trained on the use of EMDR and other trauma-based interventions and specializes in the areas of trauma, abuse, attachment, and substance abuse. Megan has trained thousands of clinicians across the U.S., as well as internationally, to get the most out of EMDR, trauma and addiction-based skills and practices. Megan previously owned and operated an intensive outpatient treatment center that was voted Best in Practice in 2019. She currently owns and operates her own coaching, consulting, and training business, and is passionate about genuinely changing the landscape of mental health and trauma treatment through an authentic, hands-on perspective that is uniquely her own. Megan is the author of the EMDR Workbook for Trauma and PTSD Skills to Manage Triggers, Move Beyond Traumatic Memories, and Take Back Your Life, released by New Harbinger Publications in May of 2023, and EMDR for Dummies with Wiley Publishing, set to release in June 2024. Meet Megan at thementalsurvivalist.com. Here's the interview with Megan Salar.
In your own words, who is Megan Salar?
Hi, Valerie. I would describe Megan Salar as a creative, as someone on her own personal journey of healing, and a coach, and hopefully inspirational leader to others that are also seeking healing and helping others in their own healing process.
Yes, beautiful. I usually say the same thing because it's what comes to me every time. What's not to love about that? It's almost like this devotional way of perceiving reality and what other people are doing, including myself, helping ourselves and then helping others to see deeper, to come from clarity, to enjoy this life, really, to have more joy, to love more, to love deeper. So it's really beautiful to witness that. the body mind here doing this, and you and so many people that I meet. So thank you for what you do, for saying yes to life in this
Oh,
way.
yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to being here with you.
Yeah, thank you. So the next question is about your own healing experience. I read about something about trauma. Yes, you work with people, trauma survivors, and specifically you use EMDR for PTSD.
Correct.
I was diagnosed with CPTSD, so that's a question that I usually ask lots of people, especially therapists. What is your idea of healing? What is healing to you? And what has been your experience healing trauma?
Oh, such a big question.
Yeah.
So also diagnosed myself with complex PTSD
Right.
and really have battled that, as I'm sure you can relate, the ups and
Yes.
downs of
Yeah. Yeah.
living through trauma, not understanding trauma myself, and kind of always just being on this path of wanting and trying to find or be the best version of myself I could be.
Yeah.
But to me, healing, I think there's a lot of misconceptions around healing, especially in the mental health world.
Right.
We think that once we get treatment, we'll arrive at this destination and be healed per se. And I think that discredits the beauty of the journey of life. And to me, healing is always evolving and changing. And because of the nuances of life, there's always new things that we're having to adapt and grow through. And so to me, healing is just making a commitment to ourselves every day to tend to ourselves, to show compassion to ourselves, and to learn about why we are the way we are, why we do the things that we do. It's more about those things than ever getting to this complete healed state.
Yes, that really resonates with me. Yes, has been my case. Learning, being open to learn, being curious. How do you make sense of suffering, Megan? Why do we suffer, especially unnecessarily? Is there a purpose to it? We signed up for it, as some people believe?
A lot of people in my life would probably say that I have chosen a lot of
Right.
suffering, and I
Yes.
can't really say that I would deny that. But I would say that there is some suffering that maybe we unknowingly choose because we might be living in a state of survival and be so disconnected from ourselves and from our own inner truth that we're not making rational, logical decisions, and it leads us down a path of suffering and heartaches. And I know that's been the case for me in my own life.
Right.
But there's also those instances, right, of suffering where, and a lot of us that come from a diagnosis like complex PTSD, we suffered before we had the choice or the chance, and we didn't have a voice or a choice in some of those circumstances.
Yes.
But to circle back to your question about suffering, I've really tried to shift my perspective really in the last year on suffering. And to me, there is a beauty in the suffering. You do not see it when you're in the midst of the suffering, but I've started to see over the course of the last 9 to 12 months how my own suffering has led me to have more gratitude for life, for people, for relationships.
Right.
And it's helped me to appreciate some of the tiniest, most minute things in life in a way that I know I never would have been able to without some of the own suffering that I experienced and that I chose. And so I'm trying to find the gratitude in the suffering. And my goal is to help others find that as well, of how the suffering can lead us to be more embodied and loving, compassionate humans.
Yes. Yes, I can't help it but agree with that. Yes, there's something about the more suffering we go through, the more sensitive we become. The kinder, actually, has been my case.
Yes.
Compassionate. That's so fascinating. But in my case, has been also spirituality, in the sense of going deeper into the knowledge or realization of what I am. That was really important to me, that I could see the big picture. And of course, I have my ideas, and I mentioned off record about the Vedanta. I'm a student of Vedanta.
Yes.
But for those who know what that is, but in your case, Megan, what is your idea of spirituality? What is to be spiritual?
I define this when I'm working with clients in an EMDR exercise I do, where I ask them about spirituality, what represents spirituality, and I describe it as something that reminds you or helps you to feel that you're connected to something greater than yourself. And that could be God, that could be the universe, that could be nature, it could be, I think it's different and individual for every person.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a connection to something greater than we are. Yeah, I have heard that before. In that, I was just trying to kind of tap into this idea, the concept of something greater. It for me has been. It seems like what comes up for me is guidance. So when I feel guided by the let's say the invisible world, that's when I know there's something here, that I'm not alone, one, and I'm not what I think I am or who I think I am. And then something opens up. But I don't know if it's greater. I think it's just...
almost like our origins. It taps us into where we came from, or the interconnectedness of who we're supposed to be lined up with in this life.
Yes, it's almost like coming from a place of wholeness, right? That I'm coming from a place of that everything is connected, interconnected, as you said. There's no separation anyway. So and then that feels really huge, but at the same time, it is what we are. Isn't that amazing? To just kind of even imagine that. It's I love even kind of having this the reflection, but visualizing in a way, trying to visualize how amazing it is to almost be the universe, but have the experience of watching the universe. But actually, we are already that. It's almost like a reflection of us. It's a conversation that's a little bit complicated for the rational mind. You just mentioned earlier the rational mind.
Yeah.
That can never really get it. But I would like to ask you a question about that. So,
please,
when we have these intuitive thoughts, what we call guidance, in my case, in your case too, and so many people that I talk here, how do we learn to integrate or to balance with rational thinking? Because sometimes for me, it takes time. It's not something that happens right away. How do you experience that, and how do we learn to integrate them?
This is such a beautiful and such a great question, because I think so many people wrestle with this, right? We can feel that inner nudging or inner knowing. And when we get it, especially those of us that have survived and gone through some really traumatic experiences, we finally get our voice back and our power, and we learn to tap into that intuition. And so when we get those little intuitive inklings, we want to act on them quickly.
As quick as possible.
Right? We're like, I don't want to lose this. I've got to act on this right now. And I think one of the challenges for us empaths and intuitors, if you will, is learning to the pause and the patience. And one of my dear friends and colleagues, she always says, what's meant to be yours can never be taken away. And I really try to resonate with that when I have those little inklings or these intuitive little knowings that come on quickly when I want to impulsively act on them. I try to do a brain dump of here's what I feel like I'm being called to. And for me, sitting in the pause and the patience of that and seeing what else might intuitively come about from just thinking on this.
Yes.
What other thoughts are here? What other intuitive knowings am I having that are related to this? If I can sit with that for a period of time, maybe if it's even a month, I've been getting to enjoy now the evolution of being patient and what a gift practicing that pause is, while knowing that I'm not going to turn away from it like we do so many times when we're raised in traumatic environments or we've lived through trauma. So always being intentional to tell myself that I will act on this, but that I'm gaining more information around this intuition that I'm having.
Right. Wow. So it's very clear to me. Thank you for saying that. Because yes, it's exactly how I have been feeling for so long. As soon as I have something, this intuitive, guided thought idea, then I wanted to act upon it immediately. And I have got myself in trouble before for doing that, going too fast. So yeah, and that's interesting that you say the word patience, because just recently I talked to you about quiet.
Yes.
Just came to me, and then right after, maybe 2 days later, the other word was patience. Came strongly. That was the word.
And how interesting that that's coming up right now as we're talking about it, is almost like another reminder to practice the pause in it for you, right? That's beautiful.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for being, you see that connectivity again, right? Because we are meeting here. It's not by chance. I really don't, I see everything as with sacredness. I meet everything in sacredness. So, and I'm always listening. There's something here because life is so amazing. It's very supportive of itself. It's incredible. Life loves life, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So you are the author of EMDR for Dummies, and that is this book is coming up this fall, right, Megan? Fall. Oh no, it came out already.
No, it's been out.
Right.
It's been out for about a year and a half now, and I just had. You're probably thinking of.
The EMDR workbook.
I just had two new. Yeah, I just had two new publications that were released October 29th. So EMDR for Dummies, and then an EMDR flip chart with Pesci Publications that were released last month.
Yes, so that's okay. Thank you for the correction. Yes.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, great. So, and that's, I will have the links here for Amazon. At the end will be clickable on the podcast notes. So my question about the books that you have written, the work on with EMDR, why EMDR specifically as a healing modality?
This is such a great question. I had to pause for a moment to think about, there's so much I can say here. I'm very passionate about EMDR for many different reasons. And those that have heard me speak about EMDR before, really my journey with EMDR, it was kind of like we were just talking about. It was not something I ever sought out or saw myself doing as a practitioner. Needless to say, as a trainer or an author, an expert in EMDR, but it slowly unraveled that way. And it truly feels like a part of my own individual calling. But I had been always interested in trauma and addiction. And I had a good friend that had gotten trained. I was familiar with EMDR, but it wasn't something that I was necessarily interested in at the time and getting trained in. And I kind of thought it was woo-woo because it's weird and it's so different than normal mental health talk therapy. And so this good friend of mine, she was like, you need to get trained in this. I just took this training and the trainer was amazing. And so I signed up reluctantly, and the same trainer was coming to our area. So I was like, okay, I'll do this. And I'll be honest, like probably day 2 into the training, I was still pretty skeptical. And then we had to do live. He asked me to do a live demonstration to be the client for him. And so the rebellious little teenager part of me was like, I'm going to pick something internally. I was thinking this, I'm going to pick something really hard just to prove to myself that this isn't going to work.
Right.
And I want to challenge him in saying that he can really help anyone with EMDR. And, you know, I was the client for him, and I instantly, within 45 minutes, came to a realization and this ability to tap into something deeper than I'd ever been able to tap into in my life. And I'd been in counseling for years. I have always been, or prior to this, really trying to heal and to understand why I was the way I was. And in that 45 minutes, it allowed me to access something that I thought I could never access. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is this? And then I had to test it out because we worked on a trauma that had really impacted my life up to where I could drive, who I could see. I was so hypervigilant all the time. And to this day, it has still removed all of those triggers. And I continue to do EMDR. Actually, every week I work with the trainer from this training does my EMDR today for me still. And I've continued to be amazed at just EMDR's ability to tap and access the subconscious, where a lot of our belief systems and our beliefs about ourselves are deeply rooted. And so much of talk therapy, you know, it really only accesses that logical, rational mind. And that's really only responsible for 5 to 10% of what drives our behaviors and our beliefs. And EMDR is evidence-based and scientifically based. It shows how it can get in and help kind of, you know, almost re-stimulate some neural development and neural pathways and foster and create this new sense of self. And there's nothing to me that quite works the way that EMDR does, of helping someone come back into touch with who they truly are.
Wow. Gosh. I heard a lot about amazing things about EMDR, but listening to you, it's just like this beautiful confirmation. And the more I hear you, the more I think about my husband. So I'll see if he's open to sessions. That'll be amazing for him.
You should. Everyone that's skeptical of EMDR tends to have, if they work with someone that really follows the fidelity of the model, have experiences that change, just like I shared with you, and that open their mind to so much more about themselves and their own ability to heal.
Yes. Gosh, I love that. Thank you for sharing all this information, Megan. And I know it's some part of that was personal too. So I really thank you for the generosity. And would be the same, let's say, would the client have the same results, achieve the same results if they meet the trainer, the instructor online or in person? Does it make a difference?
You know, it really doesn't. I mean, obviously, to me, I'm very empathic, as I know you are. And so there is something for us that are very empathic and intuitive. When you meet someone in person, you can feel more of, that presence that they bring in, or the heaviness that they bring in. But honestly, since COVID, as I think a lot of us as practitioners, we're kind of forced to move into a virtual space. 95% of my work with clients today is all virtual, and it's amazing. And I do my EMDRs that I do personally as virtual as well. And I have seen just as great results as I would in person.
Wow. That's wonderful to know. Thank you for that too. And for those listening, that's a beautiful technique to try, because I have talked to so many people and they all said the same thing. They tried themselves too. So I just know that that's the truth with capital T. when it comes to EMDR. So that's why I always talk about it. And I was wondering why, because I have heard enough good things about it. So the main topic of our conversation was supposed to be the healing impact of psychedelics on trauma and addiction. And I'll bring it into the conversation now. So when it comes to that, let's say to healing trauma and addiction, do you compare EMDR with psychedelics, or they're both, those techniques are completely different therapeutic techniques?
I think they work in very similar ways.
Uh-huh.
And that's part of what has drawn me to psychedelic treatment really in the last year. And it's been around for decades, as we know. But to me, it's also a way to access that subconscious in ways that sometimes we're unable to do in traditional treatment, even with EMDR. Sometimes when you do EMDR, we can run into a lot of blocks where maybe someone has this protective piece of themselves or is blocked or disconnected, and they can't quite go as deep as they want to go. Psychedelics offer a really unique way of getting a little bit deeper or opening up right into that subconscious, so we can identify some of these maybe deeply held beliefs or incidences that they've come across. So the first psychedelic experience that I had was in a therapeutic community, and I was hesitant, just like with EMDR. Yeah. And the very first thought I had, I'm deeply astute in EMDR. Obviously, I train all over the world on EMDR, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is like EMDR on steroids. And it's true. So there's a lot of similarities there. And I'm really interested in the integration of using EMDR post-psychedelic assisted treatment to continue to help the integration process of what you uncover during psychedelic experiences.
Yeah, that sounds really powerful. This healing, having both of them. So the next question is about what kind of psychedelic to use. I know we have psilocybin. Is that legal in California? It is, right, Megan? Mm-hmm. And then ketamine, and then I don't know about ayahuasca. That's something else, isn't it? I don't know. So talk to me about the different kinds and with the ones that you work with and the ones that you recommend for trauma and addiction.
Well, I really come back to me, any type of treatment should be individualized. Yeah. And so the community that I'm a part of, it is based that way. It is very individual based. So it is not, I don't ever recommend people just showing up and we all just take a bunch of psilocybin and that's our experience. To me, it should be more holistic than that. It's about what's your intention of what you're trying to get out of this experience. And that's different for everyone. Some people might feel called to do just psilocybin. Others might feel called or led to do ayahuasca or iboga or all these different kind of options that we have now. But to me, it's really individual based. One of the first ones that I started with that I think is a nice introduction to psychedelic medication, if you want to know what that is like, if you're going to do with psychedelic assisted treatment, is there's a lot of options out there and a lot of people are offering the psychedelic treatment, right? But to me, we started with Kana. We always, the entity that I go and do my own psychedelic treatment with and that I have some clients to and do some work with, is they always start with a layering process. And so Kana is the first supplement that you are given. And Kana is really what they refer to. It's an adaptogenic, which means it adapts to your own kind of biology, but it's a heart opener. And it kind of just takes down your defense system and makes you more open and connected and present. And to me, that's what allows us to go a little bit further into things. But it's a nice place to start for people, especially anyone that's interested in doing psychedelic treatment.
Yes, yes. I like that. There's this gentle kind of process of walking on the path
Yes.
of the subconscious mind, because that's not
Yes.
easy. Right?
No.
Wow. What is the difference between I asked this question before, and I read some things about it, but I'm still don't know really the difference between the subconscious and the unconscious mind. Have you came across that information? Have you
Oh, this
thought
is a
about
good question.
it?
I'll answer to the best of my abilities.
Yes.
So, our conscious mind, right, is the present mind. Like we're working from our conscious
Yeah.
mind right now. We're having this logical, engaging conversation. And it's kind of those active thoughts we can identify. It's all of the present in the moment kind of sensations that we experience. And the subconscious mind is really what drives and even leads the conscious mind to operating the way that it does. But it holds these underlying deeply rooted beliefs, like how I feel and think about myself.
Yeah.
And they're not something that I'm necessarily thinking of or aware of all the time. They're under the surface.
Right.
It's also what I think about other people, or the world,
Mm-hmm.
relationships, that sense of self-worth, safety. Can be, I mean, everything, but it drives our conscious mind. It drives our behaviors. And it's really it's kind of the motor, if you will, of what operates us as a human being.
Right.
That's often overlooked because a lot of our focus, especially in mental health, really does, we don't say this, but it's what it does is focuses on the conscious mind of those active thoughts you're having and those active feelings you're having.
Right.
But going beyond that into the subconscious and looking at and understanding what is driving those active thoughts in your conscious mind is the number one thing that will eventually change the way in which your conscious mind is thinking, feeling, and behaving.
Right. That makes sense. So that's the subconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is just running. Is that the one that it's running the everything that's automatic? The
The conscious mind. Yeah.
The conscious.
So the subconscious kind
Subconscious.
of drives. It's that internal motor that drives our behaviors, thoughts, and feelings without us really being consciously aware of them, if you will.
Right. And the unconscious would be is the same.
The unconscious is the same as the subconscious.
They're the same. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that, Meg.
No, it's fine.
So it's the same thing. Okay. That's really what I was trying to get at it. It's subconscious, unconscious, the same, because we are not conscious of that. We're just making choices, decisions. Yeah, it's coming from the subconscious. What about we talked about this briefly off record, about the soul, the heart, and some people call this spiritual mind. I've heard that term too. Is that also within that subconscious mind?
To me it is, and others might have a different school of thought on this, but lying in that subconscious mind is really where you can also access and tap into your inner truth of who you really are. And that's how I see it. Others might define it or describe it differently.
Right. And I think I heard about is that the super conscious mind? I don't know. There's so many terms.
I haven't heard that one, but I like that terminology.
Yeah, there's so many different words for it. But yeah, so what comes to mind is that healing and spirituality, they're very much connected. So the more healing work we do, that's basically unlearning what has been, let's say, as a metaphor, the clouds that's covering the sun, that's blocking the sun. So that's I remember trying to kind of go to the big picture of what reality is, and just being there, like at the top of that mountain. So I already know what the big picture is. So would be. I thought it would be easier than that way. Not really. And then it's funny how you have to go back to healing, and then layer by layer, and it's fascinating. That might be what makes this experience playful in a way, I have to say, because we never really know everything. And even if we do, it's still this unfolding uncovering experience of being. So it's never really fully revealed.
Well, and playing is
Amazing.
healing. Being playful and
Yeah.
being in a state of creativity and playfulness is healing, even on a neurobiology level.
Yes.
Play heals.
Yes, because we can't do that if we are not healed, right? Per se, if we have those, those blockages. Coming from the subconscious mind, or the thinking that it's, I remember them now. It's coming to mind when I was really living from that place. Everything seemed to be so difficult, so challenging, so heavy, and then as those layers cleared, it feels so much lighter. It's easier to smile now. I mean, for the last 20 years. Isn't it interesting how it is connected, right?
It is,
lightness with healing. And I wonder, like, what else is there in the sense of, some people talk about growing and keep growing. And you mentioned us, we are never really healed, because it makes sense. The body's constantly healing, getting sick, system drops, and something's always happening at this physical reality, and the mind level too, right? Thoughts, the mind changes constantly, the moods and all that. So what is your vision for this less place of of freedom? What do you envision when you think about being free?
Free to me is free of the past and those those past hurts that we've had inflicted on us, that we've inflicted onto ourselves. It's freedom from mistakes that we've made. It's freedom from the judgment and ridicule of other people. And freedom to me is where we can kind of just embrace all of who we are, the messy, the broken, still learning pieces. And we can just be okay with the journey we're on and with the mishaps that we've had. And we come to a sense of peace about it.
Wow.
And that doesn't mean we forget it and we abandon it and we surrender excuses. You take accountability in that, but you also don't let that be the definition of who you are.
Wow. What's not to love about that? Wisdom, timeless wisdom to me, spiritual wisdom. Thank you for letting that flow through you so clearly, so beautifully. Yes, that's exactly how I feel. I guess I was hesitant to use the word feel, think, feel, believe. It doesn't really matter, the word. It resonates, at all levels, right? It's not to me, it's not even being free from, but just becoming more freedom itself. So the closest I get to that concept, then, or truth or realization, it just feels incredible. It's exactly as you described. We just do what we do, and then there's no really. I think it's the word is attachment is a Buddhist kind of concept, but we are not attached to the outcome. So, oh my God, through Vedanta they talk about the gunas, which is like the layers of being. So they have all these different places that we operate from, and they are very scientific. I really find Vedanta to be the science of spirituality. So they kind of talk about the layers of the body and the mind, and how if we are attached or living this experience through them, then this will happen. And they give you like the outcome, pretty much being deluded, not knowing truth, and just living for work, just after money and anything that comes from that, satisfactions that come from money or getting things. And then there's a higher way of living, of seeing reality that would be more coming from a place of understanding, of knowing that everything is interconnected. That would be the closest to freedom. But then in the end, we have to drop everything and kind of see them as all only as operating system for the experience. So they're not really what we are. So Vedanta is pretty amazing when how they go through the process. And maybe I was attracted to it because it's very logical, and I was looking for something like that because I have been very intuitive since my entire life. And at some point, I thought that I could not trust anymore, like intuition going,
Yeah, part
saying
of that's
yes.
almost still there for you, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Huh.
I can feel that from you.
Yeah. Because I could not trust that intuition. Well, because all the rejection right around me, people who could not. So you understand that too. How amazing! Yeah, it's incredible to just
Yeah,
meet people that.
rejection is a very it'll shut down our intuitive knowing quite quickly.
Yeah, how sad, right, Megan? Yeah, because that's really a guiding light. So maybe that's what you said earlier too. Wisely, maybe life has been preparing us to become fully human and fully divine, and that would be the balance between the two. When now the heart, the soul, the spirit, and the mind, rational mind, they come together, and they're doing whatever they're doing here. There's something, I don't know, there's something about that. People talk about the feminine, divine feminine, divine masculine too, the integration of both. And then now you walk as a whole being, not just parts of you.
I love the idea of that mind, body, and soul, or how you described it. I like that more than the masculine and feminine, because it seems it seems to encompass the masculine and feminine, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I usually don't use that language for some reason. Yeah. That's funny how some words and concepts, they don't resonate, right? That's why we don't use them. The word God used to not resonate with me because of all the ideas attached to it. It's too many attachments, kind of misconceptions, and then I just dropped the word God. But then I was testing myself in a way. Come on, gotta go back to it. And then now I'm using the word God again. And then all of a sudden, somebody, I talked to so many people, they are using the word divine, and then it felt more interesting, divine. But they're just words anyway. I love the idea that we can express that, whatever we call it, without words even. That can be transmitted somehow, right, energetically.
Well, and that's part of the beautiful thing about us all being uniquely created is we should have the freedom to have our own language about how we talk and express things that's unique and individual to us.
Yes. And be allowed to do so, right? Without being judged.
Yes.
Oh my God. That's something that's very close to my heart too, because I remember being rejected so many times by using some words, using some concepts, and then being pushed away. That it hurt, it really hurt. So now for many years I have been very sensitive to that when I hear others. And I talk to all kinds of people, Christians, not religious people, actually. And I feel compassion for them. And I became very devotional, I guess. Once you know that everything is interconnected, there's no separation.
You treat it very different. Yeah.
Yes, that changes everything. Like, it doesn't matter. You're just the divine in disguise. It doesn't matter. And it's that place of freedom. It's beautiful if we can live there. We can just come from that place, right? Oh my God, Megan. So we're almost at the end. I could keep talking to you, but I want to also mention, let me see. Yeah, your services. I don't know if I have this correct here. You offer personal coaching sessions, professional consultations too, group consultations, self-help courses. You have 2 of them. Trauma and addiction, breaking the silence you face, and then trauma and transformation 8-week course. And you also offer service, expert witness in court. Oh, that's interesting. I remember putting this here, but I have not read in a long time. This is interesting. And then also your website is thementorsurvivalist.com. It will be clickable on the podcast notes. Did I miss anything, Megan?
Yeah, the one other thing that I do a lot of is, well, I'll speak to the coaching is all EMDR based now, and work with people all over the US and internationally as well. But a lot of my work is in training other mental health professionals that are working in the realms of trauma and addiction. So I train in EMDR and a variety of different ways on how to use and integrate EMDR into practice. And that's what my consultation services are primarily for, is those mental health professionals that are working with people and have their own caseloads. They come and talk about maybe some of their challenges and how to maybe use some new skills within EMDR. But a lot of my trainings, I spend a lot of time training and educating other professionals.
Wow, I love that. That's wonderful to know. Do you also certify them?
I do, yes.
Oh, great. So, okay, I'll have this here too because I didn't have it, so I'm making a note. EMDR certification, training and certification for professionals, mental health professionals. That's really beautiful. What's not to love about that too? Because the more tools we have, the better it is. And EMDR is a wonderful one. It's
absolutely.
Yeah. I never tried myself, but I take your word for it and everybody else that I talk to here. It's amazing.
You should try it at some
Maybe
point.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Just really come from that place. Okay, I know because I tried. Yes. Yeah, it probably will come. The day will come. I have no doubt about that too.
It does help you tap into your intuition. So you maybe you could consider using it with your call to Kauai. Sometimes it will help illuminate and clarify things.
Yes. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful invitation. Okay, EMDR. And also, I know you don't have here in your services, but you also provide psychedelic assisted sessions. That's is that a group?
I don't directly provide psychedelic assisted sessions, but I work with and can link anyone who's interested in those services to the group that I'm a part of that provides those services. That is something that I will be working towards providing in the next couple of years after I've completed training.
Right. Wonderful to know. So, okay. Thank you for the clarification on that.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you so much, Megan, for your beautiful presence in our shared reality, for saying yes to life again, to the depth that you have, and for being you. I love that you being you exactly as you are. It's just so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for creating a space where it's easy to show up and be authentic. Really enjoyed our conversation today.
Yeah, thank you. I have my hands together.
Me too.
Me. Oh, you do?
Yes. Yes. And my prayer gratitude over my heart. So thank you.
Thank you. And before we say goodbye for this recording, is there anything that you left unsaid?
Could I leave a message to your listeners?
Yes.
Just those of you that are tuning in, and maybe if you are still in the midst of struggle and chaos and looking for answers in your own life, I just want you to know that change and hope is always possible, even when it feels the most unlikely. And look for people that are willing to hold space and give you invitations to being who you are, no matter how messy and broken that feels. Just know that your mess has the ability to eventually be transformed into something very beautiful and purposeful.
Yes, thank you. It felt like a guided meditation, a prayer. Thank you so much again. Thank you. Okay, Megan, take good care of your beautiful self, and we'll talk soon. We'll be in touch again.
All right. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Megan Salar and her work, please visit thementalsurvivalist.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.